Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to look at weighted routing policies, and it is a lab so you will need to log into the AWS console. But before we do that, let's have a look at what happens. So if our user is going to hellocloudgurus.com, they're going to resolve that DNS name to Route 53, and then Route 53 you can actually configure weighting. So you could send 20% of your traffic to US East 1, for example, or you could send 80% of your traffic to US West 1. So you might want to do this because perhaps you run a business out of California and 80% of your orders come from California itself. So you want to do it on the West Coast, but you also do, let's say, mail order, and you do send packages across the United States. So maybe 20% of your traffic you want to serve out of East 1 as well. That's one example. Where you would actually use this more commonly is where you're A and B testing your website. So maybe you're redoing your website and you've invested a lot of money in a new UXer, and you're trying to have the goal of creating more sales. Now, before you actually flip your production website over to the new website, you want to actually see if that new website is going to result in an increase in sales. So you might send 80% to your production website and 20% to the website you're testing. And keep in mind that it doesn't have to be two different regions. It can just be two elastic load balancers in the same region. So you could send 80% of your traffic to US West 1 behind one load balancer, and then 20% of your traffic to US East 1 behind another load balancer. So that's all weighted routing is. It allows you to split your traffic based on different weights assigned. And it does this over a period of time. It can be a little bit frustrating if you sit there hitting refresh and expecting 30% of the time for it to go to one ELB and 70% of the time to go to another. It doesn't do this over a few minutes. It does this over the length of the day, and you'll be able to see that when we go into the lab. So let's go over to the AWS console. Okay, so I'm here in the AWS console. I'm just going to go over to Route 53. And another thing you should always notice is Route 53 is a global service. It doesn't matter whether you're in Sydney region or the London region or in Northern Virginia. This is a global service, so it applies all across the world, very similar to IAM. When you create new users, they are global users. So we'll go into our Hello Cloud Gurus domains. So we've still got these two DNS records. I've actually just deleted the last simple one, so you can go ahead and do that if you want. You probably should actually. So I'm going to go in and create a record set. I'm just going to use it as the naked domain name, so hellocloudgurus.com, and then the type, I'm going to make it an alias, and I'm going to get it to resolve to my London ELB. And it's just taking a little bit of time to load. And there we go. So my London Elastic Load Balancer, and the routing policy, I'm going to do it as weighted. And then in here, it says wait. So if you hover over it, you can see that you can set values between 0 to 255. And essentially, it's going to add up all the weights and then assign a percentage, and that's how it's going to distribute the traffic. So if you do a weight of 1 and 3, that means that the sum is going to be 4. So 25% of your traffic will go to 1, and 75% of your traffic will go to 3. I like to work in hundreds just to make it easier. So let's say I want a weight of 70 to go to London, and then in here I'm just going to call it my London site, and then I'm going to leave everything else as default and go ahead and hit create. Now right now this will, even though we have a 70% or 70 in there, the sum is 70, so it's just going to send everything to London. So we can check this by just going to hellocloudgurus.com, and here I am just hitting refresh, and you can see it's going between the two different web servers in my London region. So now I'm going to go ahead and create a new record set. I'm going to leave it as the naked domain name. I'm going to make it an alias, and then I'm going to click in here and I'm going to send it to Sydney. I'm going to change the routing policy to weighted, and in here I'm going to set a weight of 30, and we'll call it my Sydney site. I'm going to leave everything else as default and hit create. And so now you can see that we've got the same name, we've got a weight of 70 and a weight of 30. This one's going to London, this one's going to Sydney. So if I come back here and refresh, at the moment it's sending everything to London, and you can sit here repetitively refreshing for 3, 4, 5 minutes. Eventually it's going to go over to Sydney, and it will be there for a length of time. Then it will go back over to London, etc. And I've just hit refresh, and now I'm in Sydney, and that took about 5 minutes. Now, what could be causing this is, you're only seeing it from your point of view, whereas Route 53 is viewing it globally. So, as people do try and connect into your website, 70% of the traffic will definitely go to London, 30% will definitely go to Sydney. But because your ISP is caching the DNS, the IP address for this DNS server, it might be caching it locally upstream so that you don't actually, get the weighted routing in effect until you hit refresh after the TTL has expired. That could be definitely one of the reasons for it. So just remember that Amazon take a global view of this. So 70% of your traffic will definitely be sent to London, 30% will definitely be sent to Sydney. Where you're going to see this in the exams is exactly that, probably where your A and B testing will be an exam scenario. So you want to send a percentage of your traffic to the new website before you take it out of development and put it into production. So weighted routing is absolutely perfect for that. Okay, so that's it for this lab, guys. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture. Thank you.